In today's video, I'm going to run you through some simple tips that are going to transform your golf game. Now, each of these tips are going to be 3 minutes long, and I'm going to put them down below in the chapters so you can skip to whichever tip is going to help you the most. Be sure to watch them all and let me know your thoughts down below. So the first key is something that Pete Cowan, one of the best coaches in the world, preaches all the time. And I see this every single day on the lesson tee. When amateurs set up to the golf grip, you can see their hands are very much spread apart. So there's space between them. You'll often be able to see their lead thumb on the grip, which is definitely not what we want to see. When you get in this position, it's going to be very hard to control the club face, set your wrist, create any sort of leverage, get the club working on plane, releasing the club. The list goes on. It's very, very difficult to have a good golf swing from this position. So what we want to be seeing is that when we grip the club, that there is no space between the hands. Everything is working together as one unit. Now, in order to train this, I want you to get rid of your golf club and grab a towel and grip it as if it kind of was a golf club. Now, from there, I want you to feel like you're wringing the water out. So imagine you're trying to squeeze all that water out. Your right hand's going to twist inwards. Your left hand's going to twist inwards. So they're sort of twisting towards each other. Now, if I repeat that same feeling with the golf club now, you can see that as I do that, it brings my hands together. My right palm is covering my left thumb. This is going to get me in a position to where my hands are connected. I'm going to be able to control the club face, set the wrist correctly, get everything back into an awesome impact position. Now, this then brings us on to point 2, having the correct wrist tension, forearm tension. I see so many golfers when they try and do this, they then death grip it. They're gripping it so tight. Now, here's the thing. I hear so many analogies that are frankly just useless. You know, grip it like a tube of toothpaste. I've never gripped a tube of toothpaste before. So what I want you to do is to actually just bring the club up once you've done that exercise to get your hands together and just do some mini lassos. Now, as you're doing this, you will feel your forearms start to sort of loosen off, relax down, whatever terminology you want to use. Now, from there, you will see that your grip pressure will be kind of on a scale of 1 to 10, around a 5. Grip it too lightly, you're not going to have control of the club. Grip it too tense and you won't be able to feel the club head, you won't be able to let it flow, your forearms will tense up, you won't have a fluid swing. So it's not necessarily about having a relaxed grip pressure, that's not the key. It's actually by keeping the forearms sort of tension free, relaxed, oily, whatever sort of term you want to use for the forearms. The grip pressure will naturally be around a 5, but you can see here I'm able to do these little waggles that relaxes the forearms down, which then allows everything to work correctly, set correctly, get the club in a great position. Now, the final thing left to do is to match your grip with your wrist conditions at the top of the backswing. So if you have a flat left wrist, well, you can pretty much have any grip within reason, just aim for something relatively neutral. If you bow it more like a Colin Morikawa, John Rahm, you're going to want a slightly weaker grip, and if you have more cup in it, like Patrick Reed, you are going to want a slightly stronger grip. So let's jump into it. How do we start our golf swing off on the right foot? Well, the first thing that we do not want to do is get stationary. When we get stationary, we tense up. So we've got to stay relaxed as we are doing this. So little ways that you'll do it, you'll see golfers, they'll either sort of waddle left foot to right foot, or they'll do some little waggles with the club. This just keeps them moving, keeps them relaxed. We need to start our swing with some form of a swing trigger. And it doesn't matter which trigger you go for, they all follow the same basic principle. Now, what is that principle? That principle is that if I want to take the club back to the right, I actually have to put my energy towards the target first to then go away. So it would be something along the lines of, I've got to push left to then push right. Now, here's the thing, that was quite an exaggerated movement there. It could be a very subtle movement, but it's an athletic movement. Let's relate it to 2 other sports. So basketball, imagine you're dribbling and you're about to go past somebody to the right and you're sort of stationary here. If you want to move your body to the right, you've actually got to push into your left leg to then move right. Now, for my European watchers, if you imagine you're sort of playing rugby and you want to sidestep somebody, let's sort of flip it. Let's say you're trying to sidestep them to the left. You have to go into your right leg, push off of it to then go left. So what we're basically saying there is to go in a direction, you've actually got to push in the other direction to then go in that direction. AKA with golf, if you want to take the club back to your right as a right-handed golfer, I need to start off by pushing into my left leg and then pushing out to the right. This gets everything working together, and this is what the data shows us. When we look at the force plates, when we look at what's going on in the feet, we see the left foot pressurized, then from there it lightens as they push off onto their right foot. Now there are different types of triggers. Drop your favorite trigger down below. I'm going to run through 3. If you have any more that come to mind, drop them down in the comments down below. So the first kind of trigger that we can use is the Gary Player knee kick in. This is my favorite trigger that I like to use for my swing. It's a great trigger. So this is going to be all to do with the trail leg. You'll see the trail leg kick in and then he'll take it back from there. Now, again, let's break that one down. Where is the energy going as the leg kicks in? It's going towards the target. Again, the left foot's going to pressurize as I do that, and then I'm going to push out and go away from the target. Second one is like a Tiger Woods, sort of like a forward press. You'll see Tiger do a forward press. As he does a forward press, his body will slightly shift to the left leg, and again, he'll go away. And then the third one is going to be like a Rory McIlroy. Rory uses his left leg, so he'll push into his left leg and out. And again, this just kick-starts his swing with some momentum, but they all follow the same principle. Energy goes towards the target, then energy goes away, and then obviously as you're swinging back, your energy will go back towards the target. See which one sort of suits you best. I like the Gary Player knee kick in, so let me show you what that one looks like. Again, knee kicks in, energy goes towards the target, and then I go away, and I continue my swing. Here's what this one will look like right here. We are talking about the backswing pivot. How many times do you see maybe your swing or your buddy's swing and you see a lateral sway off the ball? Now, once you do this and you get in a position at the top of the backswing where you're stuck on your trail leg, you are going to find it very, very difficult to shift back to your left side. So as a reaction, your body is going to try and compensate for this. So often when you get stuck here, players will swing over the top in order to give themselves a chance of hitting down on the golf ball, giving them that ball then ground contact, or they'll try and have a massive shift back to the left side. Very, very hard to time. Now, how do you check if this is you first and foremost? Video your swing from the front on view, draw 2 lines down the edges of your hip, so one down the right hip, one down the left hip, make a backswing turn, and by the top of the backswing, you want to see that you have created a little bit of space between your trail hip and the trail line, and that your lead glute is connected to your lead line. If it's anything like this, where the trail hip is pushed through the line or is even connected to that trail line, then this drill that I'm about to show you is going to work wonders. So this drill is an alignment stick drill. So all you need for it is an alignment stick. Now on the ground there, I have a training aid called the swing plate. It's basically a device that allows you to set the alignment stick at an angle. If you don't have this, then just use a basket, anything that you can put the alignment stick into. Now, how I'm going to set this up, I'm going to bring this alignment stick so it is pretty much in line with the edge of my trail hip, and I'm going to have it so it's about a finger width just outside my trail hip to start with. Now, why am I doing this? Well, if you look at a lot of the best players in the world, to kickstart their swing, they have a little bit of a push off their lead leg onto their trail leg, and I do not want to discourage that. I think that is a very important movement. It kickstarts the swing with some momentum. However, if we start with this position here where it's just a finger off, that then tells you, okay, if you touch that, from that point, you then want to start to turn your trail hip back and around to try and create some space. Now, ultimately, I know there are golfers, more stack and tilt methods, who like to keep the pressure on the left leg. If you're that golfer, just have it pretty much touching your right hip to start with, and just feel like as you pivot and turn, you create a golf ball worth of space right there. Why is this important? This is going to get you into a centered position at the top of the backswing where your pressure is going to be correct in your feet. Now from here, you don't have to work too hard. You can have a little bit of a shift on the way down. Then from there, you can start to rotate, and it's going to make life so much easier. So your key swing thought is going to be when you set up to this golf ball right here with the alignment stick there, you want to feel like by the time you get to the top of the backswing that you have created some space, maybe about a golf ball worth of space between your trail hip and the trail line. If you're a shift off, recenter, again, it's the same principle. You want to have created that space. If you're a golfer who is more stack and tilt, again, you just want to create that space. If you feel yourself touching that at the top of the backswing, you know you've done it incorrectly. So what is it that we see the best players do? Well, let's just break this down just a little bit further. From the top of the backswing, we will see them have this sort of compressed look. So they will start to squat down into the ground. As they squat down, they're able to get their hips back to square, and their hips will stay deep. Their chest is staying back. Their hands are dropping onto plane, and they're shifting their weight back into their lead side. So quite a lot of stuff is going on there, and I get it. It is a very, very fast movement that happens, and if all of that's happening, how are we supposed to think about it? Well, I've got a great swing thought that's going to simplify everything down for you. So what I want you to do is go to the top of the backswing, and we're going to be focusing on your heart. So right here, as I turn back, my heart is sort of behind the golf ball. The key thought I want you to have is that your heart works down and forwards. Now, why down and forwards? Well, if my heart works down and forwards as my shoulders stay closed, look what's happened there. Number one, my head has had to drop. This has also forced my hips to go backwards. So this is giving me that compressed look as I'm getting my hips back to square and I'm keeping them deep. Fantastic. That's giving me space. That look as well, because I've been able to keep the shoulders square, gets the club shallowing onto plane. But also because my heart has worked down and forwards, where's the pressure going in the feet? It's going back to my left foot. So I feel a huge amount of pressure here. And now I'm in a great position to where I can clear my left side. I can rotate everything through. The club's now on plane and I can deliver a great impact position. Now we've all been to the arcade and there's that punching machine where you punch it and it gives you a score out of 999. Well, I want you to imagine we've got one of them, but it's sort of a little bit different. Rather than the bag being up here, I want you to imagine that the bag is roughly where the back of your hand would be right after impact. So it's about here. Now, what I want you to do is take your right hand, place it behind your back, left hand out in front of you. And again, it's just sort of inside where the bag would be. Go to the top of your backswing. And I said to you, right, forget golf. How would you backhand that bag as hard as possible? Well, what you would do is you would have that little squat motion. Again, focus on where my heart's going. My heart's going down and forwards, and it's getting me into a great position here to now where I can clear the body and backhand sort of slap that bag. And as you can see, that is literally the downswing sequence. Now, if you want to make it a little bit more realistic, the second thing we can do is go from here, and rather than have the right hand behind your back, make the back of the right hand meet the back of the left hand. So now if I go to the top here, again, what's the first movement if I'm trying to slap that bag as hard as possible? Heart works down and forwards as the chest stays closed. Now, rotate all the way through. And you can see as I do this, this provides great shoulder tilt. Third step, grab the club. And again, let's get used to making some ground contact. So let's do this here. Let's go to the top. Heart works down and forwards, and then bang, all the way through. Here's what it should look like. How can we get this club shallowing? Well, first of all, we need to define what shallowing is. So if I bring in the downline view, as I go back at left arm parallel or lead arm parallel in the backswing, if I was to draw a line down the shaft and then I was to continue to the top of the backswing and come back to the left arm parallel in the downswing, I would want to see that this shaft is on a flatter plane than where it went back up. How do we actually do this? Well, one of the most popular ways of getting this steeper to shallow pattern is by actually focusing on the left forearm. Now, there are two ways that this left forearm can rotate that we're focusing on today. It can supinate, which is where my thumb twists away from my body, or it can pronate, where it twists inwards. Here's the best way of knowing which one is which. Supination this way is like holding a bowl of soup. If I do it, I'm just going to flip the club over just to make it a little bit lighter. And I do that now. So I twist my thumb gently to the left. You can see it's excessively steep. And if I now twist it to the right, it's excessively shallow. So that is the complete over-exaggeration on the spectrum. But if we can actually use those feels to our advantage, we're going to see that we're going to be able to create this beautiful steep to shallow pattern. So you can think of it in terms of your thumb. If you just take the club, flip it over and grip it below the club head, it's going to be a lot lighter. Think about where your thumb's pointing. You're going to feel like you get your thumb pointing upwards in the backswing. And then in the transition, you're going to feel like you can rotate your forearm. So pronate it is the fancy term, to where that grip is dropping behind you as the hands are still staying high. So we're going to go supination, pronation, rotate to the left, rotate to the right. And that is going to get us that steep to shallow pattern. Now I know a question is going to be, well, Giles, hold a second. If I'm rotating the club this way, isn't it going to open the face? Well, it does, shallowing does open the face, but as long as you match it up with a good grip and good wrist conditions, so as long as you're not cupping your lead wrist, you'll be absolutely, the biggest key is in transition, you want to be feeling like you can rotate your thumb away from you and down this way in order to get the club shallowing as much as possible. So here's what it should look like. You can go to the top, pause, feel like you let that club drop, and then you can swing through. Now again, you're never going to achieve that position in real life, but if we can exaggerate this, then we can then translate those feelings to our golf swing to produce a lot better motions. So here's what I want you to do. Go to the top of the backswing, feel that forearm, that left forearm go twist inwards, and then swing down. So now if I do that just a couple of times, my hands are staying still, rotate it and through. Now if I do it all in one full motion, you can see how I'm able to really get that club shallowing in transition. Let me just hit a shot for you about 20, 30% speed, just so you can see this action in motion. So I'll go to the top, get that club nice and steep, and then really shallow it and through. Then from there, gradually build up your speed, and here's what it should look like at full speed. So, how do we create this rotation? Well, the first thing that I have to say is if you are going to the top of your swing and you are just trying to rotate your hip open, you're going to struggle, because here's the thing, rotation doesn't happen because I tell my hip to turn. Rotation happens as a byproduct of me pushing in and out of the ground in certain directions. And again, I'm going to simplify this down for you today. Now, the analogy that I'll always say is, look, imagine you are hitting off very muddy lies, very slippery lies, or even, take it to an extreme, off ice. If you try and turn when you're off ice, you're scared to, you're not able to do it. And that's because you're not able to push in and out of the ground. The ground is like a resisting force, so it allows us to push off of it. So if I am shifting down in the downswing and I get to this position here and I push into the ground straight forwards, my hip is going to go the other direction. So in order for me to actually create rotation, I need to push straight away from me with this left foot in order to get that left hip working back up. So again, it's every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Now here's the thing, that can be quite hard to think about. So here is a great drill that you can do that's going to teach you this motion straight away. So what I have here is a foam roller. Now you don't have to use a foam roller, you can use a box, you can use anything. And what I want you to do is set up to the golf ball like you normally would right here. And I want you to place this foam roller right behind your left heel. So right behind your left heel. Now here's the thing, if you're a golfer who is struggling to rotate, I will put money on the fact that you will get to the top of your backswing and you'll make a swing and you won't touch the foam roller. Or if you do, you'll touch it well after impact. Now here's the thing, the best players in the world are able to knock over this foam roller just before or at impact, because they are pushing in this direction away from me, which then sends my hip back, which then means my calf knocks over the foam roller. So here we go. If I make a swing and I do it correctly, you can see how I was able to push my left hip backwards in that direction, which gave me the rotation, which gave me that great impact position. And I was able to knock the foam roller over. And this is such a simple drill. For those people that are definitely sort of field-based learners, this is fantastic. Also, it's great because out on the golf course, you can imagine that's behind you right there. So if I do it again, this time I go super slow, I'm pushing into the ground. Now I'm going to push forwards in this direction with my left foot, which is going to send my left hip back. And you can see that causes me to touch the foam roller, and if I do it with a bit of speed, it causes it to knock it over, and that gives me my hip turn. So let me actually hit a shot for you right now, and let's see what happens. So here's a behind view just to help you see this motion again. But here's the great thing, once you've done this a couple times, you'll start to learn that sensation. So then imagine you're out on a golf course now, you can picture that that is behind your left calf and you are trying to push it backwards. That's going to give you the rotation, that's going to give you a really simple swing thought that you can use out on a golf course. It's about the release. Why is the release important? Well, everybody has different delivery positions, and the key with the release is that it allows us to square the face up consistently. Now, there are two main types of releases. There are what we class as roll releases, where we see a lot of movement to the forearms, a lot of rolling over of the forearms, and less body rotation. And the second one is a body release, where we see more of the body rotation and less forearm rotation. Now, very, very simply, what dictates which release pattern you need? One factor, and that is club face. So from the downline view, we are going to look at this shaft parallel position here. If the toe of the club is pointing up to the sky or even leaning back on itself, then you are going to be what we class as a roll release golfer. This is because we need a lot more forearm rotation in order to square the face and rotate it through. Great example of this is like a Will Zalatoris. Now, if you look at a body release player, you will see that if your club face is anything leaning slightly down to the ground, so matching spine angle somewhere in that region, you are going to be more of a body release player. Great example of this is like a Dustin Johnson. In this example, you are going to have more body rotation, less forearm rotation. Now, I actually like to put the emphasis on the trail hand. This is a really simple way of sort of simplifying down these two releases. Let's say you're the golfer who has the face a little bit more open. You're a roll release golfer. What you are going to be feeling like is if I open up my right hand in the downswing, you're going to see that my hand is on the side of the grip. So my palm is very much pointing straight in front of me. If it's in this position, I am I'm going to want to sort of do the opposite on the way through. So again, I've got it on the side here. I'm going to roll it over. So again, it's on the side on the way through. And you can see I'm very much in a toe up position from the downline view. If I'm a body release golfer, I also like to call these an underhand throw release player. So what you're going to see in this situation is if I come down, chances are the palm is pointing a little bit more down to the ground. So remember, we're going to do the opposite on the way through. So that means as I turn, I'm going to feel like my palm points more to the sky. Now, just to highlight this a little bit further, I've got a table tennis racket. I'm going to place it on the side of the grip. Now, the red side is going to represent sort of the club face position. If I'm a roll release player, you can see how I'll exaggerate this. The face sort of leaning back on itself here. Red side is pointing slightly up to the sky. Again, I want to do the opposite on the way through. So I'm going to have a lot of forearm rotation. Red side is now pointing slightly down to the ground. So again, I am releasing this over, kind of as if I'm shaking hands with somebody there. Now, if I'm a body release player, again, look at the table tennis bat, it's pointing slightly down to the ground. It needs to do the opposite on the way through. So as it comes through, it's going to point slightly up to the sky. That's kind of like an underhand throw sensation right there. Now, the best way to train this is just by hitting some half shots. Here's what a roll release looks like. And here's what a body release looks like. If you do have questions, please ask them away down in the comment section down below. Now, if you need more one-to-one help with your game for online coaching on the Skillist platform, check out the link, it's down in the description. And if you have enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you back here soon.